Hello everyone, today I'm in Doha, Qatar, in the downtown area known as the West Bay, and we're just surrounded by all these skyscrapers. There's a lot of hotels and businesses, and also across the street there's a rather large shopping mall called the City Center Mall, and even by Western standards it's a fairly large mall. And my favorite part about this shopping center is that it even has a full-size supermarket located on the ground floor of the mall, so that's very convenient. And just right next to it, as part of the mall, you don't even really have to walk outside, is a Marriott hotel. Those two tall towers there in the center. And online, this Marriott is listed as a 4-star hotel, and the nightly rate is not too bad for a nice hotel. It's $123 per night, and compared to big cities in the US such as New York or Los Angeles, I think it'd be pretty hard to even find a Marriott in general for $123 per night. So it's a fairly good deal. And there's a lot of other 4- or 5-star hotels in this area, and I'll point them out as I'm walking along. But to start off with, I just want to say that it is extremely hot here this time of year. It is early August, and the temperatures out right now, it's 104 degrees. And though that might not sound excessive, especially I'm just traveling from Las Vegas, Nevada, and the temperature is similar out there, low 100s, but the difference here is that it has rather high humidity. The humidity rate is around 50%, so 104 feels like 121, or at least that's what the Google temperature says it feels like. And it's so hot, even the cars, such as those across the street, they have their own shade structures, and that's a very good idea because the heat is just so excessive out here. And even this parking lot over here, they have these little shade structures for their vehicles. And some background information on Doha and Qatar. The country of Qatar has a population of approximately 2.3 million people, and though that sounds like for a country that sounds rather small, it's even smaller than that when you consider that only about 317,000 of that 2.3 million are actual Qatari citizens. And the reason for that is the other approximately 1.9 million are foreign laborers, and they seem to favor foreign labor here because it's just so cheap. The national minimum wage here in Qatar is approximately 1,000 Qatari reals per month, and that works out to about $250 US. And then the employers, they're supposed to provide housing and food for their workers, and if they don't, then they have to pay an additional 800 Qatari real, which works out to about $240 per month. So that gives you a grand total of approximately $490, $500 per month. So as you can see, those are very extremely low wages compared to Europe or the US. And that really surprised me quite a bit, because I had no idea that there were people willing to work for wages that low. And if you base it on a 40-hour work week, that comes out to approximately $2.50 per hour, and just really kind of boggles the mind that anyone is willing to work for wages that low. But apparently they say if you're from a third world country, a lot of people from Pakistan, Asia, and the countries that they're coming from, I guess, are so impoverished that the $500 a month wage is appealing to them. And I really don't know how they're able to get people to work for those low rates. But anyhow, it benefits the country of Qatar in that they have cheap transportation. If you want to take an Uber here, it's fairly cheap. Maybe a 10-mile ride to the airport's only $7-8. And other things like food items, fast food, would probably be pretty rare to see a Qatari citizen working in a fast food restaurant. That's all foreign labor. And anyhow, getting back to my walk here, there's a couple of hotels just right in this area, and this is the Dusit Doha Hotel, and it's like a fairly large hotel. This is also listed as a 4-star hotel, and the nightly rate is $91 per night, so not a bad deal. And I'm just gonna be walking over to the beach, which is about a block away from here, and I'll try to point out as many hotels as I can and other businesses. Anyhow, getting back to some more background information on Qatar. Qatar was a British protectorate during the early 1900s, and they didn't regain their full independence until 1971. Before the discovery of oil in 1940, the economy was primarily based upon fishing and pearl hunting. So how times have changed. They went from fishing and pearl hunting to being one of the richest countries, at least on a per capita basis. And as I pointed out before, they only have to divide their wealth between 300,000 people, so it's a lot easier for them to do that. And anyhow, back to the history, the pearl market collapsed during the 1920s with the introduction of the Japanese cultured pearl, and then the discovery of oil was about a decade later, so that was very well timed. And it's really rather remarkable that anyone even lived here before the advent of air conditioning, because the heat is just so intense this time of year. And some of these buildings look to be under construction, like those others that were next to the mall. And I was just kind of guessing that this time of year they just stopped construction because the heat is so extreme, but it looks like they're doing some work on this right now. And then there were a few other skyscrapers down over this way, and I haven't seen the cranes move all week, so I'm just guessing that the work on those is more seasonal. They might wait till it cools down a bit. And anyhow, here's another hotel. This is the Wyndham Grand Doha West Bay Beach Resort, and that's also a fairly large hotel. And online, the Wyndham is listed as a 4-star hotel with a nightly rate of $107 per night. So that's not too bad of a deal for a 4-star hotel, and you're really just right next to the beach here. And one other thing that I should point out is just when walking around like this, never assume that the opposing traffic is going to stop. It's not like the US where the pedestrian has the right of way. I think here it might be the exact opposite, because I really haven't seen too many cars stop for pedestrians. I'm not really sure what the written rule states. However, I mean, it's not like a third world country where people are driving on the sidewalks and stuff. And actually these streets, like most other streets that I've been on, they're fairly nice. They have nice wide streets with nice trees, shrubbery, greenery, and nice wide sidewalks. So this city is fairly well planned out, and they even have a pretty nice subway system, and it's nice and air conditioned, so just a good way to beat the heat. You see a subway stop, you can just run inside real quick and cool off, because I've been out here for about 5 minutes and I'm just drenched. But anyhow, getting back to some more background information on Qatar. The country is also one of the largest LNG exporters in the world, as well as the 14th largest oil producer, and they produce approximately 1.3 million barrels per day. And if you're into the oil business, or if you're familiar with it, that might not sound like a lot compared to, say, the US, which produces 10 times as much. However, the thing to keep in mind is that they only have to divide that wealth between the 317,000 card-holding Qatari citizens. So when you take the oil production plus the natural gas, that comes out to about maybe 6-7 barrels per person each day. And with the price of oil around $70 a barrel, that works out to about $400 per person in revenue each day. And that really explains why they're able to maintain this level of wealth, whereas neighboring countries, say such as Iraq or Iran, they might produce more oil, but they have 20-30 times the population that Qatar has, so they have to divide their wealth between more people, and apparently that just doesn't work out as well. And also, what's interesting to point out is the kind of cars people drive. It's not unusual to see a lot of US made vehicles, larger vehicles such as Fords, GMs, and also a lot of nicer European cars. So I do have to say that they are fairly good at keeping the wealth spread out, at least amongst their citizens. But then when it comes to the foreign labor, it does look like they do take the capitalistic free market concept a bit too far. Anyhow, I'll review that more a bit later. And now at the Doha Beach Club, and this is actually a semi-private beach. They do charge a small fee to enter. I believe it's like $4. However, I mean, if you're going to the beach to just kind of people watch, you might be disappointed, because they seem to have a rather strict dress code. And I certainly know that just for the general public, it might not be their dress code law per se, but it's most of the women, they wear the traditional Muslim dress, and this time of year I'm not really sure how they do it. They wear the long black robes. I mean, it's like 120 out here. I'm just melting. You know, there's the whole time I walked out here, you know, there's maybe a handful of people. This guy is jogging, which is, it's actually very unusual to see people exercising like during the heat of the day like this, because it's just so extremely hot. But I really have no idea how the women here are able to do that. It must be a little bit difficult with the heat. Anyhow, back to base at the city center shopping mall slash supermarket, and I just ran inside real quick to cool off and grab some water, but I'm still rather soaked here. My shirt is just completely drenched, and that's just after just 10-15 minutes of walking outside. The heat is just that intense. Anyhow, just walk around the downtown area a little bit, and these are the two skyscrapers I mentioned earlier that were under construction. And I haven't seen these cranes move the whole week that I've been here, and my guess is that most of this construction will just stop during the summer because the heat is just that intense. And as far as I can tell, I don't see really any activity going on, but who knows, could be stuff going on. It must be as hot as an oven in those buildings. Anyhow, some more background information on Qatar. Qatar is listed as a semi-constitutional monarchy with the emir as the head of state. Though Qatar does have a legislature, it looks to be rather limited in power compared to the power that the emir has. So Qatar really more resembles a dictatorship, though a friendly one, at least for the moment. Law in Qatar is based upon the Sharia law, and that is based upon the Quran. So it's probably a really bad idea to go shoplifting here, or just to steal in general, as the Muslim law does call for the hand of the person who's a thief to be removed or cut off. And though they say they no longer perform that punishment anymore, they are still fairly strict here. And though Islam is the official state religion, the government does guarantee freedom of worship and is tolerant of other religions practiced by their foreign workers and visitors. As of 2020, the country was 65% Islam, 15% Hindu, 14% Christian, 3% Buddhist, and 2% other. And it doesn't really say, it doesn't specify what the 2% other is. And in the week that I've been here, I have not been able to locate any synagogues. So I'm just guessing that there are some limits into how acceptable they are. It still probably would not be a good idea to be openly Jewish here. You might encounter some hostility. And what I was saying about there not being any workers, I actually do hear some power saws in there. So they are actually doing some work on these buildings. And that is very remarkable that anyone is able to do work in heat that must be even more extreme than what I'm dealing with. And I'm now at an outdoor shopping mall near my hotel, and since it is during daytime hours, this area is pretty empty, as apparently the shoppers don't seem to come out until late afternoon, evening, when the temperatures are a bit cooler. So there's only apparently a few people just out and about. And anyhow, I'd like to get back to the migrant labor situation, which I find rather interesting. And not only are the wages that the migrants are paid, their base salary, extremely low, with the minimum wage at about $500 per month, but that's assuming that they're getting paid. And oftentimes in the news, there's been thousands of reported cases of migrants not even receiving their meager salary and this was reported by Amnesty International. In one case, 60 workers were protesting not being paid their salaries in over 7 months in 2002, when they were all arrested and most of them were deported, many without even being able to go back to their dormitories to retrieve their belongings. Their employer, the Al Bandari company, acknowledges the workers went without salary. However, in Qatar, it's apparently illegal to publicly protest without the government's express permission. Some of the home countries these workers were deported back from include Bangladesh, India, Nepal, Egypt, and the Philippines. And that music in the background, that's one of the 5 prayer calls each day. So if there's a mosque nearby, there's going to be people that are going to be walking to their local mosque to pray. Anyhow, since 2010, it's estimated that over 6,000 foreign workers have died in Qatar. However, this is just an estimate, as the government does not publicly report these numbers. One migrant worker from Nepal, a Mr. Sunet, described his journey from his home country to Qatar to a CNN journalist. First, to obtain work in Qatar, he had to pay a fee of roughly $1,800 to an employment agency to secure a job which is expected to last about 2 years. And this practice of paying an agency to attain employment is technically illegal by Qatari standards, but many migrants say they have no other choice but to obtain work through a paid agency. And once in Qatar, Mr. Sunet's construction job included hauling bags of plaster and cement on his shoulders up 10 to 12 floors, each bag weighing between 60 to 100 pounds each. This job was even to be done in the extreme heat of the summertime, and I can't imagine what that must have been like for Mr. Sunet and the other employees to have to haul 100-pound bags of concrete on their shoulders in this sweltering heat. It must have been a job from complete hell. And not only that, but the job itself just doesn't make any sense. Why would employers work their employees so hard in such dangerous temperatures when there are simple alternatives such as a crane or even an elevator perhaps? And I can only guess that the foreign workers are considered to be so cheap as to thought to be expendable. Why spend thousands of dollars on machinery when foreign workers are only a few $100s each? And this is certainly a very backwards way of thinking and a very backwards situation, but apparently that is what they have been doing here. And now inside of the city center shopping mall, and besides being a huge shopping center, this mall is also very westernized. Most of the stores will have their ads in English and their menus in English as well. And there's also quite a few Western style restaurants such as McDonald's, Burger King, and they have a couple Starbucks in here. So it's there's a lot of shopping and all kinds of places to eat. And this is just one of the food courts that they have inside the mall. There's actually one other one on the other side, and they have a lot of US brands, a Pizza Hut, Burger King, KFC, and of course a McDonald's. And I have just left the mall through the overhead pedestrian walkway that they have there, and just right outside is one of the subway stations, and I'm just going to be heading back to my hotel. And as you can see, it is night outside, though it is dark, it is still rather hot. Temperatures feels like mid-90s. and it's going to be a lot cooler once I'm inside of the subway station. And these escalators go down about 2 floors, and then they have a couple different trains that you can take. Now on the main floor of the DECC subway station, that's the name of this subway, and as you can see, it's a very clean subway station. I was rather surprised when I first got here how clean they keep everything, and also the price of a one-day pass on the Doha subway is only about $1.50, so it's fairly cheap, and everything's computerized. You just buy a ticket and tap it on one of these computer screens, and that's pretty much all that you need to do. Gassing up your car in Qatar. The current price of gas at this station is 2 rial per liter, which works out to approximately 50 cents per liter or $2 per gallon, and that's even for apparently for full service as well. So that's a pretty good deal, about 50% less than the price of gas in the US currently.